Welcome back to the Beyond the Bestseller podcast. I'm your host, Kelly Schuknecht, and today's guest is Amy Bernstein, author of Wrangling the Doubt Monster, among other books as well. So we're going to talk about that. So welcome, Amy.
Thank you, Kelly. I'm really happy to be here with you.
Well, I want to start out with talking about Wrangling the Doubt Monster. When I first saw it, the cover what stood out to me was it looked almost like a children's book, like the square cover, right? And so then I thought, oh, what? Yeah, I looked into it a little bit more. It's very short. You actually have an award for, or it was in a category for like short nonfiction or something. I don't know.
It has won a couple of awards because it's a very unique thing. So I think it almost created its own category.
Yeah. Well, so it's, I mean, there was like some uniqueness to it that stood out to me when I
Mhm.
first saw it. So tell me a little bit about the book, Wrangling the Doubt Monster, and why you wrote it and what does make it unique.
Right. So, Wrangling the Doubt Monster, Fighting Fears, Finding Inspiration. It is a short book and it is also illustrated, which is why you were thinking it was a children's book. But it is very much for adults or maybe even teens of all ages who really are self doubting creatives. And almost everyone who aspires to make art in almost any form is so riddled with doubt for so many reasons about whether they can, whether they should, whether they will, whether, they're feeling too vulnerable, whether they're being too exposed, whether it's any good. We're just so full of doubt as creative people. And because I am a lifelong self-doubter, I finally found that I needed to start writing about this and normalize conversations around self-doubt. And it has been extraordinary, the conversations that have come out of my commitment to do that. So I'm very glad I did.
A lifelong self-doubter. That quote stood out to me. So, uh, so as a self-doubter, I mean, you put out this book helping people with their doubt. How did you get over your own kind of feelings around that to be able to help other
Yeah.
people with it?
Well, one of my mantras is we can never banish self-doubt entirely, but we can learn to walk with our doubts. And that means that we find a way to acknowledge all those sort of squirmy, scary, negative feelings that come along with doubting ourselves, and yet still commit ourselves to take wonderful creative risks that have such an upside that it really kind of balances out the downside. And I will say that this isn't really a how-to book. What it really is a book of inspiration that anyone who dips into it on any page is going to feel really seen as a self-doubting creative person and realize, oh, I am not the only one who feels this way. So it's very reassuring.
Yeah. Thinking of like my own kind of silly, I recently, like, I have this, I don't know, this maybe silly desire, but like I've always wanted to be a content creator. And so I've really dove into that over the last, month, really, right? Like I have always created content, and I have always kind of had like my secret platform of like creating content on TikTok. And then recently I kind of opened up on Instagram to my, friends and family going, hey, just so you know, this is what I'm doing. I'm, embarking on this kind of this journey of really trying to monetize creating content. And because I was like, I have to tell people that I'm doing this because otherwise they're going to go, what are these posts? Like, what is she, So I set up an account with LTK, which is an affiliate commission platform. And anyway, like so I've been doing all of this and like kind of feeling silly, kind of feeling that doubt of like, why do I think I can do this? Or why do I want to do, I don't know. Right. Um, and I still like, so the wrangling is such a great word in your title because I'm like, I feel like I'm just like wrangling these feelings of like, why do I feel the need to do this? Why do I have, there's something, I think it's that creative draw, right? To like do something. And I love doing it so much that I'm like, I know I need to continue doing this and pursue that. But like, just anyway, so all the things that you're saying speak so much to me and just my own feelings of doubt, maybe like imposter syndrome, feeling silly, also you
This is,
question.
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
It is, no, classic, Kelly, absolutely classic. And what's so, when I hear your story, that is every creative story. Everyone who takes that step forward while they're still thinking, is this a good idea? What if I look like an idiot? How do I explain
Right.
myself? I mean, it's all there, right? And I think you're doing the right thing because you're stepping into that vulnerable, new, let me figure this out space while, not relinquishing all the doubts. But, doubts, it's also helpful because it sometimes forces us to take a beat and think about, am I going about this the right way or the best way? Should I slow down a little bit? Like, not stop, but let me just make sure that I've kind of got my wits about me and that I'm doing this the best way I know how, and so doubt can be really powerful. The way I put it is it can be fuel as well as foe. And it people are so ashamed of doubt because they think it's a sign of weakness or insecurity. And that is so not true. It absolutely comes with the turf. It comes with the territory of doing creative things and taking creative risks. And if you had no doubts, I have to say, I'm not sure you're taking enough of a risk. But you're doing it exactly the right way. And we have to get comfortable with those feelings, and sometimes they keep us awake at night, but we have to keep pushing through, and it really starts with, you have to give yourself permission as a person and as a creator to just take those steps forward, even though there's that little part of you that's kind of screaming, what is this? What are we doing? We
Yeah.
could be doing something so much safer and easier. Why are we doing this? But all the joy and the fun and the growth comes from letting that doubt, stay there, walking with it and doing the big thing. I mean, that's where the payoff comes.
Yeah. And I 100% fully believe you. And it's still so hard when you're in it because you're like, again, well, and I saw this post recently where somebody was like, I'm going to butcher it, but it was something about how like you know, everyone kind of like cringes over your content or like says like, what is she doing? Until you start making money. And then they start going, how did she do that? Like, so some of it is like, you have to get over that cringe phase of like, it's just a part of the journey, right?
Well, yeah, you know what? Let me make a point about that because it's so interesting you brought that up. Um, one reason why creative people are so full of self-doubt is because, generally speaking, our culture does not reward, prioritize, and recognize a lot of the work that goes into being an artist in any field, because it's not about an outcome. It's often not about compensation or making money.
Sure.
It's often not about fitting into sort of a box or earning a title or, that promotion at work. And so making art has nothing to do with those things. And we're in a culture that prizes all of those things: money, title, power, prestige. So what's so funny about what you just said is, once you are quote unquote making money from this sort of weird, crazy, out there on social media content creation thing, suddenly certain people will respect you. Now, they were doubting you before that because
Right.
they didn't see that, or we do art for art's sake. We do creative things for their own reward. And, whether or not you're making money at it, I would value it, equally. But
Yeah.
there are a lot of people out there who will only put a value on it if it's a value in terms that they understand, and that's
Yeah.
financial.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a great point. I think for me, it was 5 years of like just creating content on the platform and having fun with it and playing around and testing new things. And, like, so for a long time, I was not doing it to make any money. But I finally realized I was like, this is something I really enjoy and I would like to be able to monetize it. Right. Like, so then that also gives some legitimacy to those people where it's like, well, this is why I'm doing it, right? Like, even though I don't need them to see me as legit, but like, um, for many, many years, like people were going like, what is she doing? Like, why is she doing that? Right. And it was like, I just felt I was doing it because I just enjoyed it. And that was really like what mattered to me was it was just this fun creative outlet, especially when I was working in a corporate environment. It was my fun creative outlet that was just like something that had nothing to do with my work. I just kind of played around on the platform and I enjoyed that. And I was connecting with people in this weird way. Like I have friends that I've met on social media that I've, interacted with that, and I loved that. Right. And, but now that I've started my own business and, just am free of the corporate kind of, the stigma around, it's like you can't be doing that you can create content when you're working in corporate, but like also there's a little bit of like people watching you and like I don't have any of that anymore. So I'm like, I'm just totally diving into this and just gonna enjoy it. And yeah, and if I can monetize it, that's great. But like that wasn't what drew me to it in the first place. I just enjoyed it. Anyways, all of that, like I don't usually go into all of that kind of stuff, but like this is speaking to me so much right now because it's really something that I have really started to lean into over the last month and just been like I'm really just kind of ready to take it to the next level and with that does come a lot of like doubt about your abilities and your what people think of me and um
There's
all of those
there's
things.
one step, right? No, absolutely. And there's one important, well, more than one, but one step for you to take in particular, if you have not already done so, and how important it is as you make that pivot, as you sort of deepen your commitment to basically creative risk taking, and as the risks get bigger and potentially more visible, make sure you have surrounded yourself with allies who will offer you support and
Mhm.
encouragement and accountability and help you realize that you're on the right path, and to distance yourself from adversaries who are all those people who love you a lot as a friend or, relative or family member, whatever. But all those people are like, gosh, this is kind of crazy. You're really putting yourself out there. Do you really want to do that? I mean, what if this doesn't work? What are you going to do? And you're investing an awful lot of yourself in this, and I don't know. And you really want to make sure that you are surrounded by allies, and so you could tamp down the voice of the adversary, because the truth is your own head is going to do that enough for you. So you need external validation. That doesn't mean that we only surround ourselves people with yes people, right? But people who understand the nature of this kind of risk, who will bolster your confidence, and so you feel empowered to make good decisions and take interesting creative risks, as opposed to pulling back, which is what our adversaries are constantly telling us to do, to sort of be smaller instead of bigger.
Right.
So you're at that pivot where it's really important for you to very conscientiously be surrounded by allies.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I told you my personal like connection with your message, but what are some of the other things that people like creative pursuits that people are doing that like your book has, it speaks to?
Yes, well, I've taught a series of workshops that I invented around the book. It's a creativity workshop, and it's been extraordinary who comes to the table, literally, because I've had emerging filmmakers, graphic designers, other people in the fine arts, writers, obviously. I don't know if I've had anybody from the music world. I don't remember, but the the path is the same for all of us. It really is about it begins with giving yourself permission as a human being to make the art that calls to you. And so often people will say, and this is so true of women, and even more true of women who are parents caring for family members. It's like, oh, I really shouldn't be taking the time to do this. I've got so much else that I should be doing instead. And I always push back on that and say, every human being has the right as a human being to express themselves creatively. And when
Yeah.
finding time to do that is really your inalienable right. It doesn't mean you're going to shirk all the other responsibilities that you have, but you deserve to make that time too. Even if it's not a lot, even if you can only scribble for 15 minutes in the morning, or jot down an idea for a sketch, or even make musical notation for a piece. Even if you can't take a lot of time, you have a right to take that time. And it's really important when you're reading Doubt Monster. Um, you're going to see what it means to sort of feel validated in doing all these things, because I really explore all these ways that we feel doubt and how to kind of wrestle with them. That's what the wrangling is all about.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, well, so tell me about, so we talked about Wrangling the Doubt Monster, but you also have a number of other books Um, Tell me about that. You've written fiction and nonfiction. So, what are some of the other books that you have published?
Well, Doubt Monster is actually my nonfiction book. I have written 7 books, and 6 are fiction.
Wow.
Just this week, I was delighted to have a small chapbook published. And a chapbook, for anyone who doesn't know, is basically a really short work that's often almost kind of like handcrafted. And in this case, it's a really long short story that's got some illustrative elements in it. It's got multiple points of view. It's got radical time shifts. It's got sort of mixed media, and that some of it is told through short emails, some of it is told through character narrative. And so it's this wonderful kind of mashup, and it's hard to find a home for work like that. So I'm thrilled that I found a small publisher to bring out Days of Leaving as this beautiful little standalone work. And I also have a new novel out, just out for several weeks now, called Tent City, which is a dark novel about the decline of the American dream and its impact on one family in particular when their enormous backyard becomes a host to hundreds of homeless people who pitch tents in order to survive.
Wow.
And it's kind of a what if novel, and many readers have said this feels very real.
Yeah.
And gosh, talk about doubt monsters, because I wrote this book, Tent City, in 2019, and I could not find an agent or a publisher. And I would periodically send it out, and then I would just cry and forget about it. And then I would send it out again, and then I would get disappointed again. And this has gone on for years. And when I sold yet a different novel that's coming out next year, I said to myself about Tent City, I said, you know what? You're a good writer. This story deserves to be told to the world. Don't give up on it, because you're not giving up on yourself. And so I sent it out one more time last fall and found a publisher who fell in love with it right away. And now it's getting really great reviews. And the lesson here is that you cannot let doubt stop you in your tracks. You really have to persist. If you believe in yourself as an artist, you just have to keep going, because somewhere that door is going to open. And one way that I think about it is, if we allow all the doors to close and we kind of stop trying, um, then a new door will never open, because in fact, it's all the same door. And we need to kind of keep walking through those doors and, look for places for our art. So it was a great lesson learned.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, so finding a publisher for that one, have you tell me about how you published all of them? Were they all like, I mean, so they weren't all traditionally published, right?
5 of 7, the 5 of
Yeah.
my 7 books are traditionally published.
Okay.
I have 5 books with 5 different traditional publishers. The chapbook with the small little thing with a traditional publisher who specializes in these small publications,
Okay.
and 2 that I self-published.
Okay.
And so I don't have an agent. And there's many reasons for that. I think I know what the reasons are, and we don't have to go into all of that now. But the point is that I've brought good work out into the world. Work that's been very well recognized, and picked up awards here and there, and got well reviewed. And so you need to just keep believing in yourself, and keep at it. And you cannot let the world might keep telling you no, but you have to push back and keep saying, I'm going to get a yes.
Yeah.
It's really important to feel that way.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, that feeling you described, I've had. So, it's interesting. You talked about, like, it's not about the money, but there was something about getting picked up by a traditional publisher. I mean, either way, you were going to publish it, right? So either way, you would make money on the book. But like, there was something about that was like really important to you, that you felt. I don't know. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but like, there was a. Go ahead.
Well, what I discovered is I'm really bad at self-publishing. If you want to self-publish
Okay.
well, there's many things you have to get very good at, or throw a lot of money at people who are very good at those things.
Sure.
Because it is very easy to self-publish badly. What I mean is bad cover art, poor marketing strategies that you don't execute, no follow through. Like I own this. But I learned so much that I realized, oh, I do not want to be a self-published author. And, kudos to all the people out there who are doing this brilliantly. I'm not slamming
Yeah,
self-publishing. It's not for me. I want the backing of an organization that's going to do things the right way that I'm not good at. Even though publishers these days aren't doing much marketing,
right.
at least you're not totally starting from scratch.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's some of what I learned along the way for sure.
That's great. This topic comes up often on this podcast, whether to go the traditional publishing route or go the self-publishing route. And I am an outspoken advocate for self-publishing because, I truly believe that people can publish their own book and you do not need to go through a traditional publisher. However, for some people, it is really important. And that was a great perspective that I don't know that anyone's brought up that one up before. Just like that is just the ease of somebody else handling things for you. And go ahead.
Well, also Kelly, I think I have a little my take is sort of broader than that too, which is that I really think that every writer, and I've taught a course on this, finding your path to publishing. You need to think about your own temperament and your own skill set. If you are incredibly patient, if you're good with technology, if you like learning new things, if you like diving in and sort of you're not afraid of new skill sets, including, and you don't get frustrated easily, you're willing to kind of figure it out, you're willing to dive into Atticus or Vellum and figure out how these tools work. And if you really like having control and you're the kind of person who no one can tell you what to put on the cover of your book. If you're that kind of a person, I think self-publishing is a really viable path for you, particularly if you understand that it's on you to figure out how to sell that book. There's nobody out
Yeah.
there to do that for you. So there are a whole bunch of people who are suited to that temperamentally. I do think that the writer's temperament and personality play into this. If you hate social media, if you're really an introvert, if you don't even want to go give a talk at your local library, if you don't know anything about graphic art, if you are tech shy, or just not tech savvy, chances are self-publishing really isn't the best path for you. So I think it starts with the writer knowing who they are, what they're good at, what they're not good at, whether they can be patient with traditional processes, or whether, frankly, they revel in being control freaks. I mean, some of the happiest self-published authors I know are control freaks. They just want to own every inch of that thing. That's fantastic. They know who they are and they're good at executing. But you need to go into this eyes wide open because it's not for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a great, I think that's a great perspective to bring. And like I said, I mean, I just think that, you know, if getting picked up by a tradition, so like the story that you told, right? Like you were frustrated, you were sending it out, you weren't getting responses. And for that person who maybe hasn't already published four other books through a traditional publisher, like maybe this is their first one, that's where I say just it's totally fine to go the self-publishing route if that's the experience you're having. Like you do not need to hold out on getting that book out to the world if you're not getting, if you're not getting any responses from traditional publishers. Um,
Right, but you need to understand, if you self-publish, your book will not be in a bookstore unless you do it on consignment, which is to say you have to bring the books to the store. They're not going to carry your book. You're not going to get into libraries. There's opportunities that aren't open to you. You're not going to get reviewed by any major public outlets because there's hardly anybody reviews books anymore anyway. And so, I mean, again, yes, I guess I'm giving you a yes and
yeah.
yes and yes and you have to realize that it's on you to figure out how to sell copies. I mean, most authors never sell more than 300 copies of any book in their lifetime. Like this is just like a stat. So you have to really think about what you're down to do,
Yeah.
And I think too that if traditional publishing doesn't work out for you at first, you have options, which is hire an editor or hire a book coach, invest in your craft, and figure out whether there's something with that manuscript that's not working and make it better. I believe in that route
Yeah.
too. I believe in writers investing in themselves for those purposes as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
I
I
mean
think that,
it's all good.
yeah.
It's just how we think about it.
Yeah. I like the yes and because yes, I agree with you. Like if you self-publish, it's not impossible to get into bookstores, but it's harder. It's not just a given, right? And there's other distribution things, there's other marketing things. But I think that a lot of times people have this perspective that like if I get picked up by a traditional publisher, I'm going to be the next Colleen Hoover, or I'm going to be the next, what.
And that it's not true. I
Right.
can tell you it's not true.
Right. And so
That's
that's
not
where
true.
I'm like, what I talk to people about is like, what is your real goal with this book? Right. Like if your
Yeah.
goal is to get your
Yeah.
message out, if your goal is to feel accomplished in, I published this book, then just publish it and don't worry about that.
Right.
But you're right. Like and that's what I think everyone has to go in, just knowing what their goals are, like, and
I
being
agree.
realistic about.
Knowing what their goals are for sure. And the thing is, there are hundreds of smallish, independent, traditional publishers, and only 5 of what we call the big 5, really, really big ones. Penguin Random House, Simon Schuster, or whatever. Their names keep changing, and Macmillan and Hachette, and like all these guys. But there's only a handful of those, and there's hundreds of these smaller ones that are doing the same thing. A lot of the smaller publishers are taking more risks on material and authors than the big publishers are ever going to take. The big publishers are very risk averse. So, and you have to have an agent to get into the hands of a big
Yeah.
publisher anyway. But there's hundreds of smaller traditional publishers out there who take direct submissions from authors and will care about your book and will take chances on material that others won't, because they're structured differently.
Yeah.
So I mean that there's definitely an upside to that.
Yeah. Well, Amy, you are a wealth of knowledge on the publishing process, and I want to reflect back on the earlier comment you made about being I don't remember how you said it exactly, but a lifelong self-doubter, something like that. And then hearing all of your wisdom around publishing, I'm like, I don't want to hear from you about self-doubt. You're amazing. And your book is just a fantastic resource for people who are maybe dealing with doubt for whether it's writing your book, whether it's doing content, whether it's whatever your form of creativity is that that you're just feeling that doubt. Your book seems like a really great resource to people. I am going to link to the Wrangling the Doubt Monster in the show notes. How else can listeners and viewers find you online, learn more about you and your books and what you do?
Yeah, I mean, just head to my website, amywrites.live. It's just AMYWRITES.LIVE, and it's all there.
Perfect. All right. Well, we'll include that in the show notes as well. And Amy, thanks for coming on and sharing your book and your message with us. Thanks for everything you're doing to help people wrangle their doubt.
Thank you, Kelly. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Looking for a community of women writers to support and inspire you on your journey? Join the Author Power Circle. Connect weekly with fellow authors, stay accountable, and move your book forward in an encouraging community. Learn more at kellyshuckneck.com.